Good afternoon, game changers. What is going on today? Welcome. If you are tuning into the live stream right now, let us know if you are on here live. I would love to see who is on here live, who's tuning in live with us. So, if you are on the live stream right now, go ahead and comment live in the chat below. That way I can see who is on here live, who's tuning in live. So, today we have a special training that we are going through. Today, we are talking about how to do $100,000 per month in your wholesaling or flipping business while working 15 hours per week or less. Yes, it's totally possible. I know this because I've done it. I built my own multiple seven-figure wholesaling business, and inside my wholesaling business, within a year, I got it to where I was working less than 15 hours per week, and still to this day worked less than 15 hours per week in my active wholesaling company. So again, if you are on here live, comment live in the chat so that I can see who is on here live. And if you're watching the replay, comment replay so that we know if you are tuning into the replay. All right, so diving into the content. When I first started my wholesaling business, I was brand new to business. I mean, I had attempted to start a personal training business, but I was brand new to business. So when I was first starting off, like most people, I was doing all of the functions in the business myself. It was a pure hustle, effort, grind situation. I was hustling, I was grinding, I was putting in a ton of effort. And if I did not show up in my business did not run. My business was not operating. I was not closing deals if I did not show up. How many of you guys can relate to being in the position where if you don't show up, you're not closing deals? Can anybody relate to this? And if you're in this place, like I was, when I was in this place, I did not really have a business. I had a glorified job that was pretty high paying. You know, I had basically a high paying job because if I went on vacation, my business stopped completely. If I went to Mexico, my business stopped. It went on vacation with me. So I had a goal early on to build a real business that could run without me. Now, how many of you on here would like to have a business to where if you go on vacation, your business is still running? Your business is still bringing in leads. Your business is still setting appointments. Your business is still signing seller contracts. Your business is still closing deals. How many of you want to build that type of business? Comment in the chat if that is the type of business that you would like to build, because that's what we're talking about here today. So to build this business, this type of business that can ultimately run without you to where you can work less than 15 hours per week, you can go on vacation and your business doesn't go on a vacation as well, it's going to require more people than just you. It's going to require a team in place. And so when I start talking about teams, every time I talk about teams, I always have people make the comment, well, I don't want to have a massive team. I don't want to have to manage a ton of people and deal with, managing a big team. Well, what if you just had a small team to where you didn't have to manage them a ton? Because guys, 15 hours per week is not a ton of management. It really is not. And once you're out of the frontline seats of the business, then really you go into working full-time, working on the business. And part of working on the business is helping to manage and maintain the culture and relationships of your team members. And so I want to dive in and I want to look at how do we actually get to a place where we can start removing ourselves from the frontline positions? Because how do we go from a solo operator doing all of the work ourselves to having a small team, at least a small team that, we've at least delegated all of the frontline positions so that all of the core functions of the business are running and operating without us? So I'm going to dive in. I'm going to actually share my screen and show you guys, because there are 5 core functions that we have to delegate inside of our business. There's 5 core functions we have to delegate inside of the business. And in order to get to a place where the business can run without us, these are the things that we must delegate inside of the company. So, one second here while I share my screen, and we're going to dive into the 5 core functions of the business here. Okay. So you guys can see this here. This is part of a greater presentation that I did. But this is the core wholesaling team. Now, this is specifically a wholesaling team. If you are flipping, if you're fix and flipping, you would have another department here. But the 5 core functions of a business that must be delegated are: number 1, lead generation. We have to have leads coming into the business without the business owner doing the work. Meaning you can't be the one generating leads. If you're the one generating leads, that means that you don't have any leverage in that department. Because if you're the one who has to manually generate the leads, if you stop at all, if you take a day off, that means your business did not bring in leads for that day. And we cannot have that if you're going to be able to scale to the 7-figure level. Even if you're going to have any level of consistency inside of your business, you cannot be the one who is actively required to generate the leads. So lead generation is the first area that we must delegate inside of the business. Because if we don't delegate this, then we are going to be the bottleneck. We are constantly going to be the bottleneck if we don't delegate lead generation. The second department that we must delegate is lead management. So after we get lead generation delegated, now most of the delegation that happens inside of lead generation, most of the manual lead generation right now that goes on is going to be SMS and cold calling. So how many of you guys are doing SMS or cold calling right now inside of your business? Comment in the chat if you are doing SMS or cold calling inside of your business. It's a very manual process if you are doing it yourself. It's a very manual process if you're doing it yourself. I think my screen is glitching a little bit. Hopefully we are back now. So if you're doing the texting or the cold calling yourself, it's an extremely manual process. So we must get to a place where we are not the ones required to generate the leads ourselves. We cannot be required, or our business cannot depend on us having to generate the leads manually. So we want to get to a place where we've got those 2 positions delegated completely. So that we've got other people that are generating those leads. Now, if you are doing SMS or cold calling, these are actually pretty easy positions to delegate. And my recommendation, if you're doing cold calling right Okay, we are back. I think we are back now. Sorry about that, guys. We had a glitch. My computer literally shut down on me. It literally just like restarted on me. So back to diving into lead generation. If we are trying to delegate lead generation, the first thing that I recommend, if you were doing texting or you're doing cold calling, we got to get that delegated. Those are some of the easiest lead generation positions to delegate, meaning you can delegate those pretty easily. So, especially cold calling. Cold calling is something that is such a manual process that if you are the one who is doing the cold calling yourself, then I recommend to get off the phones as quickly as you possibly can. I know that there are a lot of people out there that recommend that you are the one that stays on the dialer for a long period of time. Guys, let me tell you, I have not cold called a single day in my life by myself. I have not cold called. I've not sat on a dialer. You do not have to do cold calling yourself in order to be successful in this business. I delegate cold calling entirely. And so for me, I just delegate that responsibility. Now, right now, I have an incredible cold calling center that I use that is completely hands off. That means that I don't have to manage the cold callers. All I do is I send a list to them and they literally manage everything for me. And so if you would like, if that's something that you would like a connection to, you can comment cold callers in the chat down below, and then my team will get you the connection to the cold calling center that I use. They're phenomenal, and they're $7.50 an hour, $7.50 an hour, completely done for you. And literally, you just send them a list, and they dial. They send 2 leads per day per cold calling agent. So lead generation is the first thing that we've got to delegate. Second thing that we've got to delegate is lead management. Lead management. That's the second department that we must delegate inside of our business. Now, in regards to lead management, after we have leads coming into the business, now we must qualify the lead and then book an appointment for acquisitions. So if you are the one doing all of the work inside of the business right now, then first thing that we've got to get delegated is lead generation, meaning we have to get your business to a place where leads are coming in every single day without you having to do the work to generate the lead. We got to get leads coming in every day without you having to do the work to generate the lead. So that's the first thing that we have to delegate is lead generation. Now I'm going to see if I can share my screen again so you guys have a visual. Last time I shared my screen, it freaked out on me and the whole thing like shut down. So, all right, hopefully it doesn't do that again. Lead generation, first thing we got to delegate. Number 2, lead management. Next function of the business that we need to delegate after we have our business to a place where we have leads coming in without us having to do the work behind generating the lead. So now, that function is delegated. Now, every day we have leads coming in on autopilot. Boom. Now we can our time is freed up to where we can go book more appointments. But we're going to get to a place where we have more leads than we can handle on our own. We have more leads than we can manage on our own. So now we need to get lead management delegated. So that means we need to get somebody into our business, a lead manager. This is one of the most important positions that we can hire early on. One of the most important positions that we can hire early on is a lead manager who can take all of the leads that are coming into the business, qualify them, and then schedule appointments for the business owner. Because if the business owner now has leads coming in and appointments being scheduled for them without having to do any of the work behind that, that frees up the business owner to go close more deals. And this is extraordinarily valuable for the business owner. Every business owner that I know that gets lead management delegated, they say it is a lifesaver every single time. Every single time, once a business owner gets a lead manager in place, they get that function of the business delegated. Every single time they say, oh my gosh, this is one of the most life-saving positions that I've ever hired. And because they aren't having to manage all the different leads, they're not having to do the follow-up, and it just frees up so much time and bandwidth for the company owner. So now the business owner can go focus on probably what they're better at, which is going and closing more deals. So now their time, their attention is freed up to go close more deals. So now at this stage, we can start going into closing more deals. Well, as we start closing more deals, now we have a greater administrative burden with transaction coordinating. So with transaction coordinating, there's a ton of administrative load, a ton of administrative burden. We have to communicate with a title company. We got to make sure that, you know, any paperwork, any documentation that needs to be signed in order to get the deal to the closing line, all of that is taken care of. Communication with the title company, the seller, the buyer, to coordinate all of that to get to closing. All of this has to happen in order for deals to close. Well, as you start to close more deals, then the administrative burden on the transaction coordinating side starts to increase and weigh down the business owner. So now we need to delegate transaction coordinating. And if we can get transaction coordinating delegated, now the business owner is really freed up. Now the business owner doesn't have to do work to generate the leads. The business owner doesn't have to do work to qualify the leads or schedule appointments. The business owner doesn't have to communicate with the title company, the sellers, or the buyers. And now they can really go focus on closing even more deals. And at this stage, the business owner should be able to close 4 to 5 deals per month, you know, while still sitting in the acquisition and disposition seats. And now the business is in a place where the business can hire acquisitions and dispositions. If we hire acquisitions or dispositions too soon, we're setting ourselves up for failure, because a salesperson, a good salesperson, will need opportunity. They need to walk into a position that has opportunity for them, because most salespeople, at least good salespeople, will want to make six figures per year income. So they want to have the opportunity to make six figures. If you want a good salesperson, otherwise they're just going to go sell solar. They're going to go sell cars. They're going to go, there's a number of industries that they can sell in and make six figures. If it's a good salesperson that you want to have on your team, they need an opportunity that they can make six figures. Unless you're doing 4 or 5 deals per month, then they're not going to have the opportunity to come into your business and make six figures. So if we hire too soon for acquisitions or dispositions, then we're shooting ourselves in the foot, and we're not setting that sales rep up for success. We want to set all of our team members up for success. So now, once we have delegated lead generation, lead management, and transaction coordinating, now we are ready to hire acquisitions. And my milestone that I shoot for when I'm coaching people is be at 4 to 5 contracts a month before we start to bring on acquisitions. So that way, when they come on, now we can increase marketing even more and increase marketing to the place where they have the potential to bring in, you know, somewhere between 5 and 10 contracts at a minimum per month as an acquisition rep, as a full-time acquisition rep. And that is ultra possible whenever you bring on an acquisition rep whose full-time responsibility is going out and getting seller contracts. My minimum KPI for my acquisition reps is 2 contracts per week per acquisition rep. 2 contracts per week per acquisition rep. That's 8 contracts in a month. That's my minimum requirement for my acquisition reps, because I know that my lead managers are going to put at least 10 appointments per week on my acquisition rep calendars. That's the bare minimum requirement. 10 live calls, live appointments per week on my acquisition reps calendars. That way, they have a sufficient opportunity to get at least 2 contracts per week. And now we've got a team that's really, really humming. They are running. And the reason why we go in this sequential order is because piece by piece, we are setting ourselves up for success. Lead generation, if we delegate that first, we're setting ourselves up for success because we have opportunity coming in without us having to do the work. Lead management, we delegate that next. Now we have appointments being scheduled for us without us even having to think about it. We just have appointments show up on our calendar. Transaction coordinating, we're setting ourselves up for success. We're freeing up more bandwidth so that we can work more on the business. We can get more contracts and put ourselves in a position where we can hire acquisition reps. Now, once acquisition reps are in, once we've got an acquisition rep in and stabilized, now we go into dispositions, and dispositions is the person who is selling the deal. Dispositions is selling the contract. Somebody just asked where to sell a contract. Dispositions is the person on the team who sells the deals. They're the ones, once we get a seller contract, their responsibility, go sell that deal. Now, once you got this position filled, once you got the disposition rep, now the core functions of the business have all been delegated. And now you have a team that can bring in leads, set appointments, get contracts to the finish line, get seller contracts, get buyer contracts, all without the business owner having to lift a finger in order for deals to get done. This is the place where true freedom starts to begin, is once we get all of these core functions delegated. Now, why do I say a 4-person team? Well, lead generation, I don't have any cold callers on my team. I've delegated that completely. I literally don't have any cold callers on my team. So as far as lead generation goes, like, we have some inbound channels like that we manage, but outside of that, I don't have to lift a finger in order for leads to come in, but I also don't have internal team members that I have to manage in order for leads to come in either. So the 4 main people, because I delegate my lead generation as far as like the human work that needs to happen behind generating the leads, I delegate that because I don't have internal cold callers. I delegate that to a cold calling agency. Now I have 4 core people that I have on my internal team in order to do 6 figures per month. Now, this is like a minimum requirement, but if you have a really solid lead manager, a really solid transaction coordinator, acquisition rep, disposition rep, that is the minimum viable team to be able to consistently do 6 figures per month, 100K per month. When I first got this team in place, now you'll see up here, I have a CEO and I have a COO, a CEO visionary and a COO integrator. This is something that long-term you want to have. In the beginning, you might be the CEO and the COO. You might be the visionary and the integrator. Now, if you wanted to remove yourself even more, you can move into the CEO seat or the visionary seat, and you can get a full-time integrator in place. But it's not necessary. If you wanted just 4 people and you wanted to keep the bare bones skeleton crew team, you can just have those 4 functions of the business delegated. The 4 functions are lead generation, you can completely outsource. Lead management, you have a lead manager in place, you have an acquisition rep, you have a disposition rep, and you have a transaction coordinator. If you can get these 4 people internally on your team, you can do 6 figures per month. Now, I don't recommend to stay there. I do recommend to expand beyond that. One of the primary reasons is because I like to eliminate single points of failure inside of the business. A single point of failure means that if all of the responsibilities of one department is resting on one person or one marketing channel, if that person goes down, the whole department goes down. So even though you can do 6 figures per month, you can do 100K per month with the skeleton crew of 4 people, it's usually to your benefit and to the business's benefit to expand the team beyond that. But for my company, when I got my core 4 team in place, I was able to do $200,000 per month, between $160,000 to $200,000 per month consistently for 6 months in a row with just the team of 4 people. just the team of 4 internal people on my internal team. So it's possible. Now I also got to a place where I knew I needed to expand beyond that team. So I expanded beyond that team. And I also recommend for most people to expand beyond that team. But that's the minimum viable team that you would need to get to $100,000 per month. And guys, when you get to that place, I will never forget when I went to Mexico for the first time. My wife and I had a friend in Mexico that was getting married in Cancun, Mexico. We went down. I had just gotten all of these team members in place. They were all stabilized. They were all rocking in their positions. I went down to Cancun, Mexico. I left my phone in my resort room, went down to the beach with my wife. And when I came back to my resort room, I looked at my phone and we had a seller contract signed, we had a buyer contract signed, and we had a deal that had closed all while I was on the beach in Cancun, Mexico. And that moment changed my life forever. That was one of the most life-changing moments. I'll never forget that moment because that was the moment when I experienced true freedom in my business. I experienced true freedom in my business to where I actually had a business that was bringing in leads, that was setting appointments, that was signing contracts, closing deals, all without me having to do any work. And at this stage in my business, I was working 15 hours per week or less in my business. True freedom is possible in this business, guys. This business is incredible. It's an extraordinary business opportunity. I adore this business because of the incredible opportunity that we have in building out $100,000 per month business with a small team. You can get there, guys. It's possible. I got there within 6 months. Within 6 months, I had my core 4 team members in place. Within 8 months, we were doing over $100,000 per month in the business. Within 8 months, starting from ground zero, I had never done a deal before. 8 months later, I had a team in place and we were doing over $100,000 per month. This is possible. And all of you guys have this opportunity at your fingertips. Even if you're on this live stream right now, if you're listening to this, that means that you are somewhat involved in this industry. And this is an opportunity that's at your fingertips right now. So guys, I do have a tool that I want to make available to you. I have a diagram that I want to make available to you. So as you are building out your team, there is a diagram. I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to share my screen. There's a diagram that I utilize in my business all the time. I'm consistently looking at this diagram, and I am updating this diagram every quarter. So if you look at this diagram, this is what is called a real estate accountability chart or org chart. Now, this shows the core departments of a company. So you have marketing, you have sales, you have transaction coordinating, and then you've got finance. And what all of these squares are responsibilities. Every one of these little line items is a responsibility that has to happen inside of the business. Somebody is doing all of these responsibilities right now in the business. And if it's not getting done, it's something that should be getting done. And so every quarter, sometimes every month, if you're in a high growth phase, what we want to do is we want to come in here and we want to look at this org chart, and we can zoom in and we can say, okay, what we want to do is we want to put a name beside every one of these boxes. So you see this little line here, you want to put a name beside every one of these boxes because somebody in your business right now has to fulfill all of these responsibilities. And right now, the scary thing is you could be the only person in the business, and we all start off that way, or most of us do anyway. But if we look at this, we can start to realize, we can start to recognize what responsibilities am I doing right now that I can start to delegate. And you will recognize responsibilities that you need to delegate every single quarter. So every quarter, what we want to be doing is we want to look at the responsibilities we are doing right now. We want to ask ourselves, what responsibilities am I doing right now that I need to delegate to another person, or do I need to hire a team member so that I can delegate these responsibilities off of my plate? So if you would like this tool, just drop a comment in the chat, comment org chart in the chat, ORGCHART, org chart in the chat. Or you can comment chart in the chat, but comment org chart or chart in the chat, and then we'll get this organization chart over to you so that you can actually create your own copy of this, and you can start utilizing this inside of your business. But this is something that you want to use. You want to use at least once per quarter, but at a minimum, you want to be using this like once per quarter, but you could even in high growth phases use this every month in your business, to where every month you assess this, you look at the name that's written by each one of these boxes, and you ask yourselves, what responsibilities do I need to delegate that I'm doing right now that I don't need to be doing? You know, your best use of your time is working on the business. That's the best use of a CEO's time. And so if you are doing all of the responsibilities in the weeds of the business, and let me tell you something, everything right here, all of these boxes that are below the visionary and integrator, these are all in the weeds activity. So if you are working in the business instead of working on the business, then that's something that you need to be working towards. You need to be working towards you sitting in that visionary seat at the top. That's the target. That's the goal. How do we get to the visionary seat to where all of the in the weeds activities have been delegated to other team members inside of our company? So if you would like for me to send this chart to you, comment org chart or chart in the chat below, and we'll get this sent over to you. And guys, if you're watching this right now and you're like, hey, you know, I have no experience building out a team, I don't know how to get to a place where I can even hire team members, that is exactly what we help people do inside of the REI Game Changers program. We help people put marketing systems in place, sales systems in place, and then piece by piece, we help them build their team to where now we are even doing hiring. We even help recruit and staff your team members. So if you're looking for help building your team, scaling your company to the 7-figure level, comment Game Changers in the chat below, and one of my team members will reach out to you, and we'll have a conversation about what it can look like for us to help you scale your business. So if you would like us to come alongside you and help you build out your entire organization piece by piece, and put marketing systems in place, sales systems in place, SOPs in place, and then piece by piece help you build out your team members, then comment Game Changers in the chat below. One of my team members will reach out to you, and we'll just have a conversation about what it looks like for having us help you build out your entire team, your entire company, so that you can become the true CEO, the true business owner that is in a position where the business can run and operate without you. So if that is you, if you're interested in even having a conversation about that, comment Game Changers in the chat, and our team will reach out to you. So I do have a couple of minutes here. If any of you guys has any questions, you can drop any of your questions in the chat. Happy to answer any questions for you. If you have any questions about building the team, getting to this place where you have all your frontline positions delegated, happy to answer any questions that you may have. If you want to comment in the chat, I will answer any questions that you guys may have. So comment any questions if you've got any questions. Otherwise, again, if you were looking for help implementing all of this, you don't want to try to implement it all on your own, then you can comment Game Changers, and then we'll reach out to you in regards to how we can help you piece by piece implement this, so that you're not trying to guess on how to build out your team. We're taking you by the hand and walking you through the step-by-step process that we have built out to get you to that business owner seat to where you become the true CEO. So if that's you, comment Game Changers. Otherwise, guys, you guys have an incredible day. Thank you all so much. We do this every week, usually on Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Central Time inside of the REI Game Changers for Wholesalers and House Flippers group. So stay tuned. We'll be doing this again next week. And if you guys have any questions in the meantime, always use the Facebook group to ask any questions. All right. See you guys later. God bless. You guys have an incredible day. Bye.